Hi, I'm Arthur Boyer, and in this video we're going to talk about brainstorming techniques for essay writing. Now, the kind of essay that I would like to look at in this video is known as the personal narrative. So a narrative is just a story. It has a clear beginning, a middle, and an ending. A personal narrative is a story about you. So it's written in what we call the first person, in the first person point of view. And all that means is that you're telling the story from your own perspective or from your own point of view, and you're describing your experiences. And because you're telling a story about yourself and from your point of view, you'll be using the words I a lot. I did this, I did that, or I will do this, or I had done that. Me, when you're describing things that happen to you, you may use other pronouns like we or us. These are all known as first person pronouns. So just to be clear on that. Now, when it comes to brainstorming, there are a few techniques that we might use. You may have heard of some of these before. One such technique is concept mapping. Now, concept mapping is creating a bubble chart with a large circle in the center, and that circle represents either our main idea or our controlling theme, if we were, say, writing a poem, or it could stand for our main goal or objective, which in this case would be to write the personal narrative. And I could use a concept map to brainstorm ideas as to possible topics for this narrative. So I would draw some branches out here, and I would look at potential topics or things that I could write a personal story about. And I would have, smaller circles here on the outside, and I could look at each one of these ideas, compare them, and then through what we call a process of elimination, I can get rid of my least favorite ones, or the ones I'm least interested in writing about, until I've decided on one that I really do want to write about. So that would be the concept map. Another technique that we can use is a technique known as Venn diagramming. Now, with Venn diagrams, see, these allow us to compare and contrast two or more ideas. You draw overlapping circles like so. You look at what the two ideas have in common in the overlapping areas, and you look at what's different about the two ideas. In fact, you may, with Venn diagramming, even compare three or more ideas. That's another technique you might use to brainstorm. You may also decide to engage in group or peer-to-peer discussion. And here, obviously, all you're doing is, forgive my poor drawing skills here, but you're just sharing an idea with somebody, asking them what they think about that idea, and hopefully what you get back in return is not just feedback, which, feedback has to do with them expressing their opinion about your idea, but hopefully conducive feedback, or feedback that's productive and useful to you in some way in helping you to decide what you want to write about. So group or peer-to-peer discussion is another technique you might use. And last but not least, here's a very simple one, though no less effective if it works for you. You might just decide to make a simple list. You could just create a list of topics and go through them one by one and decide on the one you want to ultimately write a story about. So you can try those with your teacher and see if you can come up with a topic. Now, I would suggest that in the brainstorming phase, you try to come up with as many ideas as possible. As great as these techniques for brainstorming are, they're techniques for looking at ideas once you've already had them. So there is no technique for having new ideas, for creating ideas that you haven't created yet. It doesn't make sense to use a concept map if your concept map is blank. It makes no sense to take part in a group discussion if you have no ideas. Otherwise, all you could do is sit there and watch other people have ideas. But once you've had ideas, get them out on paper, try to have as many as you can, and then narrow them down to just one. In the next video, we'll look at how we might use concept mapping as a technique for brainstorming ideas for our personal narrative. So I'll see you there.